Jehovah's Witnesses are doubling down their efforts in indoctrinating children with this new cartoon made exclusively to teach children to obey the cult. That's right, the very first thing that this religion teaches children is obedience, because the earlier you learn it, the harder it'll be for you to question it. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you like these videos. Let's get started.
Hey there, ready for the final product? Ta-da! It's the three Hebrews in the fiery furnace. It could use some work.
Right from the get-go, I hate this. Is this little dude supposed to be a child? Because he sounds like a 35-year-old. You know, there's a reason why I went with a grown-up version of Caleb instead of the original version. Also, this is a terrible introduction to this host. We don't even know his name. But of course, that's not important. What's important is to indoctrinate children to obey Jehovah, which is what this is about.
That sure is an exciting account. But how did they end up in a scorching oven? Come on, I'll show you. It's a great story. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were just boys when they were taken to Babylon. Daniel was there too. People there were not Jehovah's friends. They wanted the Hebrews to be just like them. They gave them Babylonian names: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and food that Jehovah said they shouldn't eat. But together with Daniel, they obeyed Jehovah because they were his friends.
Can you see why this was the very first story to be retold to children by Jehovah's Witnesses? This isn't a coincidence. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego has been told to children since they started producing content to indoctrinate it. That's why it's in my book of Bible stories and in its replacement book, Lessons You Can Learn from the Bible. If you're not a Jehovah's Witness, you might be surprised to know that the Jehovah's Witnesses are probably the religion that talks the most about this story, with most other religions not really highlighting this story as often or at all. And this video shows you why. That story of three young men dropped in the middle of a place where people didn't obey their religion is perfect for an isolationist cult like the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's why when they are retelling the story to children, what they are highlighting is that the young Israelites were with people that were not Jehovah's friends and that wanted to be just like them.
People there were not Jehovah's friends. They wanted the Hebrews to be just like them.
Terms that are nowhere to be found in the original version, but that would obviously be essential to any cult. This cult reframes anyone who doesn't follow the governing body as people who are not Jehovah's friends, because you wouldn't want to be a friend with anybody who isn't Jehovah's friend, even if there's no biblical basis for that. What's more, they retell the story of the three Israelites refusing to eat the forbidden fruits they got served and instead asking for a vegetarian diet. In the Bible, the main point of that story is that the three Hebrews got miraculously in shape while refusing to eat meat, which is obviously a miracle if you've ever seen a vegan. In the Jehovah's Witness version, the main point of the story is that people who weren't Jehovah's friends tried to influence the three Israelites into becoming like them. Do you see just how much they twist in literally less than 1 minute? And that's nothing compared to the culty rhetoric we are about to hear.
Then one day, the king of Babylon told everyone to bow down and worship a statue. And anyone who didn't would be thrown into a fiery furnace. Would the three Hebrews give in to the pressure of the king and everyone else around them? Of course not. They knew that only Jehovah deserved their worship. If they obeyed him before, they knew they could do it again.
And now it makes sense why they twisted the meaning of the first story, because that's the made-up lesson that is the basis for the main lesson that they want to teach to their kids. And what is that lesson? Die for the cult. The main point of this story is that the three Israelites refused to bow down to an idol, even if that meant that they were going to be burned alive. And that's why this story is such an important story to teach the Jehovah's Witnesses children. Because that's the kind of devotion this cult asks from its followers, even if they are children. They all have to be willing to die for their beliefs and risk anything in between. This is a story that children like me thought when they were being made fun of for not saluting the flag, despite that verse in the Bible saying that governments are placed by God and deserve to be obeyed. I am different. I serve the one true God. I know the truth. I will suffer for it. And this narrative gets taken to the extreme when it comes to the blood prohibition, since every Jehovah's Witness, even children, is supposed to obey the cult and refuse a blood transfusion, even if their life is on the line, which has led to the deaths of thousands of children, some even recognized and martyrized by the cult for it. But how can a cult convince people to give the most precious thing they have, their lives, for its teachings? Well, with the same technique every cult uses, convincing you that nothing bad can happen for following your beliefs, even if that costs you your life, because the more you sacrifice yourself for the cult, the bigger the reward you'll get after death.
They declared, "Our God whom we serve is able to rescue us, O king. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold." Jehovah's friends always obey him.
See, this is what they said. Even according to Jehovah's Witness Bible, after Nebuchadnezzar told them to worship the statue, they said,
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king,
O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter.
If it must be, our God whom we serve is able to rescue us from the burning fiery furnace, O king, and to rescue us from your hand.
But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, or worship the image of gold that you have set up.
where is that bit of Jehovah's friends always obey him? That's nowhere in the Bible. This is an example of the Jehovah's Witnesses literally adding words into the Bible, something deeply condemned in the Bible itself. But they need to add this bit into the story because for them, that's the whole point of the story. The whole point of it is to teach children to obey the cult. So they twist the story from a fictional book because, yes, the book of Daniel is fictional and not historical, so they can teach children from childbirth to obey the governing body under any and every circumstance. After all, that's the main and sole requirement for someone to be a Jehovah's Witness, to obey Jehovah. And we know what Jehovah wants because the governing body tells us what he wants, which we really need because apparently he keeps changing his mind.
How did Jehovah rescue them? Wow, what a cliffhanger. Why not read the whole story and find out for yourself? Make time every day to learn from Jehovah's friends. What do you think? How did Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah show that they were Jehovah's friends? When is it hard for you to obey Jehovah? And what can you do to obey Jehovah like they did?
See, they didn't even tell children the resolution to the story. Why? Well, because the lesson was already taught. The lesson is to obey the governing body, which is what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would have done. And sure, they got into a little bit of trouble because they knew Jehovah's friends always obey him, and you gotta be Jehovah's friend if you want an afterlife that'll make this life seem completely pointless anyway. But what matters isn't how Jehovah miraculously saved them from the furnace, vindicating his name and proving to Nebuchadnezzar for a billionth time that he was the bestest God. No, that bit you can read in the Bible in your own time. What matters is that these young guys obeyed Jehovah, and you, as a young guy, should obey Jehovah too. You know, to Jehovah's Witnesses, that's the point of the story because they literally ask their children to answer what they can do to obey Jehovah like they did. And what do you think a Jehovah's Witness child would answer to that if it's not to obey the rules that the governing body has placed for them, go out door to door to use their cute factor for the cult, and to stay quiet during the meetings? They also ask children when it's hard for them to obey the cult, so parents know the areas they need to work on so their child is fully obedient and compliant. This was honestly far creepier than I expected, because I find it very telling that obedience seems the first and most important thing you can teach to a child. That's what the first Caleb and Sophia was about, and that's what they even joke about as the most important trait in a child.
The best children are obedient children. Oops. I mean are happy children.
It's clear to me that obedience is at the forefront of this cult, just as it is in any cult. After all, the more you obey the cult, the more valuable you will be, because the more things they'll be able to ask you to do for them, even if that puts your life at risks. After all, who cares about this life? If you die faithfully serving the cult, you'll immediately wake up in paradise to live the life that's actually worth it. But that's all for now. Thank you so much to my supporters. Don't forget to check out my awesome apostate t-shirts after you leave a like. And tell me, do you agree that obedience is the most important lesson that a Jehovah's Witness can learn? I don't know if they'll continue to post these lazy, short, and culty animations, but I'll definitely be covering them if they do. So subscribe if you don't want to miss that when they come out.